Welcome back. This is Chicken Philosophy. The Meccan Revelations, part 45, in which I will pick up right where BT left off last time. I think it's a pretty safe assumption that that was BT. Anyway, so there we have it. You might notice I'm missing some things, but it's still me, still Gwydion. Feeling a little naked, but this is how kind of we started out. The kimono was added. The necklace was always kind of there, but yeah. Well, not always. Always on Chicken Philosophy. I think there were 3 or 4 episodes with the hat without the necklace. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's not what you came here for. You came here for the beverage, right? So this is some coffee in the blue cup with the anchor on it and under it to help to anchor us. Nah, who wants to be anchored? I guess it's good to have the ability to be anchored in the metaphorical sea. The sea that represents metaphor itself. Oh, it always kind of takes me by surprise how nice these incenses are. So this is the one that you can, I don't know if it's available outside of Goa, but it's manufactured in Goa. And when you open it up, it's like, surprise, it's a mosque? Yeah, I think so. Is it meant to be Taj Mahal or something? Or just, no, I think it's just a mosque. I mean, like, not a specific, maybe it's specific, but it's not Taj Mahal. Anyway, right, so that's good. That'll get us in the mood for the Meccan Revelations, right? I'm hoping Cafe de Anatolia is playing. That's my way of telling Editor Edward to play Cafe de Anatolia in the past. I mean, in my future, but in the past, from the perspective of this moment in the video. All right. So we did the drink, we did the incense. Now we'll do the Hafiz. So the Meccan Revelations is a translation of the Futuhat. The Futuhat would probably fill multiple shelves behind me in the original Arabic. But these 2 volumes, this book and another one about the same size, is what we're reading here on Chicken Philosophy, and we're about halfway through with the first one. So if this is episode 45, then you can expect 180 of these. Ish. So yeah, The Gift by Hafiz. So let's put the 2 books up. Make Editor Edward do some work, earn his nothing. And so first we're gonna open to a random page of The Gift by Hafiz. Let's put a picture of Hafiz. So he was a 14th century Persian Sufi poet. And Ibn Arabi, that's Ibn Arabi, was a 12th century. I think he was born at the end of the 11th century. Spanish originally, but I think they would have called him like Al-Andalusian or something like that. He settled in Damascus, Syria, and he was, not a poet exactly. He's But he has a good turn of phrase now and then that's very poetic. But he's much more like, now let me explain this to you. But he's saying it in, know that this is in the heights and you were in the, or know that man's most perfect plane is in this world. As for the next world, the station will be 1/2. That kind of thing. Where Hafiz, let's just. Enough expletive. The tender mouth. What will the burial of my body be? The pouring of a sacred cup of wine into the tender mouth of the earth, and making my dear sweet lover laugh one more time. Well, all right. Kind of makes one wonder, is the earth his lover? Is pouring wine into the tender mouth of the earth? All right. I mean, I won't analyze it too much. I'll just take it as poetry. All right. So we're still in the middle of the section about imagination. You remember Willy Wonka and all that? In a world of pure imagination. So, let's jump back in. Here we go. If a man assumes a distinct identity within the world of the unseen, this is proper to him, since he assumes a distinct identity in reality, not imaginally, through his spirit, which sense perception does not perceive, and which belongs to the world of the unseen. If he desires to spiritualize his body and become manifest within it in the world of the unseen, he has something to help him, i.e., the spirit connected to his body's governance. So he is nearer to imaginalization within the world of the unseen than the spiritual being is to imaginalization within a form of the world of the visible. Well, however, this station is to be earned and acquired, as in the case of Khadib al-Ban, for he possessed this station. Hence, there is something within the power of man that is not within the power of, bracket parentheses, the inhabitants of, end bracket parentheses, the world of the unseen. For it is within man's power, in respect of his spirit, to appear in the world of the visible in an imaginal form other than his own form. Thus man becomes manifest, see what I did there, as he wishes, in any of the forms of the children of Adam, like himself, or in the forms of animals, plants, or minerals. This has occurred among the masters. I was discussing this issue with one of the sheikhs of the way of God, who in my eyes is a trustworthy and honest man. He said to me, quote, I don't know, it's there's so much pressure. I want to do a voice, but I don't want to do the wrong voice. Okay, so the voice of his friend, in quotes. I will relate to you what I have witnessed in order to confirm your words. I was the companion of a master who possessed this station. Though I was not aware of it, I asked to be his companion from Baghdad to Mosul in a caravan of pilgrims returning from the Hajj. He told me, quote within quotes, all right, there's a new character, the master of the guy whose name we haven't learned. If you are determined to come, do not take the initiative with me in any food or drink, but wait until I ask you for it. End quote. I promised him that. He was an old man, so he rode in one half of a howdah, while I walked close behind him so that he would not be faced with a need for me. Editor Edward, what is a howdah? A seat, especially with a canopy and railing, for riding on the back of an elephant. Thank you for clarifying that for Edward and Gwydion. I'm still the guy in quotes, as you might have noticed. Anyway, I'll keep going. Then he became ill and weak with diarrhea. This was very difficult for me, but he did not take any medicine that would stop it and allow him to rest. I said to him, quote, Master, it's still me, I'm quoting myself now. Let me go to this man who is the guide of the Sinjar road and take from the dispensary a costive medicine, end quote. He looked at me as if I were something disagreeable and said, quote, keep your promise, end quote, and did not answer me. He promised him something. Editor Edward, what did he promise him? Do not take the initiative with me in any food or drink, but wait until I ask you for it. End quote. I promised him that. Thank you. His state became worse, and I was not able to keep quiet. The caravan stopped for the night. Torches were lit, and people made for the guide on the Sinjar road. He was a black eunuch, and men were posted before him. Those who were sick came to him seeking medicines according to their illness. I said, quote, My lord, put my heart at ease and comfort me by commanding me to bring you some medicine from this man. End quote. He smiled and said to me, quote, Go to him. End quote. I came to him, and he had not known me before that, nor was I in a state or an attire that would demand that he attach importance to me. So I walked to him, fearing that he would reject me or drive me away because he was so busy. I stood before him among the people. When his eyes fell on me, he stood up for me and made me sit down. He greeted me with joy, delight, and cheerfulness, and asked me what I needed. I told him about the state of the sheikh and his illness. He asked his assistant to bring the medicine in the best form possible. He excused himself and said, quote, "I was tired, and have you not been sent to me in that?" End quote. That's the black eunuch medicine man guy, the guy with the medicine. I stood up to leave the tent, and he stood up with me and sent a torchbearer ahead of me. I said farewell to him after he had walked a few paces with me, and he commanded the torchbearer to walk in front of me with the light. I told him there was no need, fearing that the shaykh would find it excessive, so the torchbearer returned. I came and found the shaykh as I had left him. He asked me what I had done. I said to him, quote, "Through your blessing, he honored me, though he did not know me." What? Exact words that are written on the page here. Michelle Chodkowitz, you need to discipline your translating team a little, I think. Here's the quote. "Though through your blessing he honored me, though he did not know me, nor I him," end quote. I'm pretty sure it was meant to say, though he did not know me. He did not know me? I mean, we're all one and all that, so technically in the higher, let's bring up a tree of life. Up here, it's not a typo. But everything down here, it's a fucking typo. Thank you. No more tree of life. Alright, sorry. I'll stop being a pissant. Hang on. I need... There was a group of Sufis in Yemen once, so the story goes. And it doesn't necessarily contradict the Kali, the goat herder story in Ethiopia. They might both be true. So the story goes that there was a goat herder in Ethiopia, and he noticed his goats were getting kind of feisty when they were munching on these plants. And he was like, what are they eating? And then he found the coffee beans, and he was like, I wonder what would happen if I roasted these and ground them up and boiled water with them and filtered out the ground up roasted coffee beans and then drank it. And then he did, and he was like, woo-wee, this is gonna catch on. Something of that effect. Then later, there was a group of Sufis chewing khat or quat. It's this thing that they would chew. It was like a mild stimulant, I think. And they ran out. They were all finished. Or they were making drinks. They were making like a beverage out of it, some kind of green quat or khat drink. And they ran out. And then the sheikh of this group of Sufis was like, hey, I've heard that you can use these beans, or these beans that are growing here. You can roast them and make a drink out of that. And then they did that, and they loved it, and they kind of got hooked, and then it just sort of spread from there. And then after a while, there were coffee houses in Constantinople, and then some traveling folks from Europe came, and they were like, let's build one of these coffee houses like the Turks have in Constantinople, back in London. And then never mind. So all this talk of shakes and stuff made me crave a sip of coffee. When you drink coffee in Ethiopia, there's always incense involved. So we're doing it right. Okay, where were we? We're still in the quotes. So, okay. End quote. I described for him, but he's the one telling the story, so those are quotes within quotes. So this is the voice of the sheikh who was talking to Ibn Arabi, that Ibn Arabi said was a good man, or he trusted, or whatever. Anyway, I described for him what happened in detail. The sheikh smiled and said, quote, "O Hamid, I honored you." I guess his name is Hamid. "Without doubt, it was not the eunuch who honored you. I saw that you were full of anxiety for me because of my illness, and I wanted to ease your mind. So I commanded you to go to him, but I was afraid that he would insult you and reject you, as he does with the people. Then you would have returned broken. So I disengaged myself from my bodily frame and appeared before you in his form through imaginalization. I honored you and treated you with respect and did what you saw until you left. Here is your medicine, which I will not use." Michelle Chodkowitz, you forgot the end quote within quotes. That's a small thing, but you proofread. All right. I was flabbergasted. He said to me, quote within quotes, "Do not hasten, bracket parentheses, to believe me, end bracket parentheses, return to him and see what he does with you," end quote. So I returned to him and greeted him, but he did not receive me and rejected me. I went away in wonder. I returned to the sheikh and told him what had happened. He said, quote, "What did I tell you?" End quote. I said, quote, "How astonishing. How did you turn yourself into a black eunuch?" Ever seen Soul Man? That and a knife. That'd do the trick. End quote. He answered, quote, "The situation was as you saw it." End quote. End quote. So end quote within quotes, end quote. We're back to Ibn Arabi. I don't remember what Ibn Arabi sounds like. I'll do my best, guys. Sorry if this is inconsistent. Stories like this about the masters abound. It is similar to the science of simia, but it is not simia. The difference between us in this station and the science of simia is that when you eat something through simia, you eat it, but you do not feel full. Editor Edward, could you give us a definition of simia? So, I'm not going to tell you the answer to that, but I have a good reason. Okay, well. Right. That which you take to yourself when you take it through this science only occurs in your own vision. Is it like Peter Pan and shit, where they're like, visualize, but they feel full? Never mind. All right. When you look for it, you do not find it. The practitioner of this science shows you that you have entered a bath, but when you return to yourself, you do not see any reality to it. Bracket parentheses, what he had shown you. End bracket parentheses. On the contrary, what you see by way of simia is like what a dreamer sees. When he awakens, he finds nothing of what he had seen. You've seen Nightmare on Elm Street? That's the exception. That's why it's scary. You wake up and you have a cut that you got in the dream. That's freaky. You ever had that happen? I believe you. I mean, I'm not entirely certain that you're crazy. It's possible that you believe what you're saying. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'll keep reading. The practitioner of Simaya possesses an authority and control over your imagination through the specific properties of the names or letters or kalfatirat. There's footnotes. Maybe I should... Where are these footnotes to be found? At the end? Why do you put them at the end? Then I have to run around chasing them. Okay. All right. Hang on. This particular section lacks the references and metaphysical principles of beauty, harmony, and artistic inspiration traditionally associated with both Joseph and Venus, the planet of this sphere. What in Billy's Ghost are you talking about? That is there different sets of numbered footnotes and I have to chase after the right ones? Yes. Fucking A. Well, I'm looking forward to finding out about Joseph and Venus, apparently in book 2. Bear with me just a moment, guys. Gender neutral, guys. Here we go. Simaya, derived from the Greek semeia, is one of the occult sciences and given various rather vague definitions in different reference works. In his translation of Ibn Khaldun's Muqaddimah, F. Rosenthal renders the term as, quote, letter magic. Oh! End quote. Okay. It is a science through which the practitioner is able to make it seem that extraordinary or miraculous events are taking place. Ibn Arabi derives the word from Arabic sima, meaning sign, a word whose sense is not very different from the Greek semia. He writes, quote, in other words, it is a science of the signs which are produced by reactions stemming from combining letters and compounding names and words. Some people are given all of this through the mere bracket parentheses pronunciation of the phrase and bracket parentheses in the name of God. All right, end quote. He cites as an example of Samia the magic of Pharaoh's sorcerers, who were able to, quote, put a spell upon the people's eyes, end quote, and, quote, make, bracket parentheses, Moses, and parentheses, imagine by their sorcery that their ropes and staffs were sliding, end quote, Quran 20:66. Ibn Arabi also states that the jinn give to certain people, quote, the science of the properties of plants, stones, names, and letters. This is the science of Simia, S-I-M-I-Y-A, with like little hats on the I and the A, the first I. Okay, and Kalfatirat, which was the thing we were just starting to read about, right? So for Simia is of a number of kinds. The crudest being Kalfatirat. Okay, let's find out the crudest form of number magic. This is really interesting. Kalfatirat is, through metathesis, identical with Phylaktirat. Metathesis being like rearranging the letters in this. It's a fancy way of saying. Parentheses, a form found in Futuhat 2. I think that's, okay. Though perhaps through a scribal error, and parentheses. And the Greek phylacterion, English phylactery, that's an English word, phylactery, let's put that up on the big board. A leather case for carrying pages of scripture or relics. The sense in which Ibn Arabi understands the word is not clear. In another passage, he writes, quote, miraculous acts are of many kinds. They may occur on the basis of certain known natural contrivances, like Kalfatirat, end quote. Well, number magic. Letter magic. That's cool. There were various kinds of letter magic that we learned. Okay, cool. I mean, yeah, okay, I'll just keep going. Coolio, thank you, Editor Edward, for however you managed to divert that back to me so that I would eventually look it up, or whatever happened there. I have no idea, because Editor Edward is me in the future from my perspective, but you in the past from your perspective. It's all very confusing. When two people are sitting and have a live conversation, they're both in the same moment, so things make more sense. The tenses are simple: past, present, past participle, future, future perfect, the normal ones. But there aren't tenses for all the shit going on between you and I, and I, and I, and I, and Editor Edward and I. Okay. And the subtlest, the pronunciation of words through which he snatches the viewer's eyesight away from the sensory world. That's kind of what I'm getting, is it's like not magic, but magic. I'll keep reading. Turns it towards his imagination so that he sees what a dreamer sees, though he is awake. I mean, it seems like a blurry line. Like this is, what he's talking about is something somewhere between what we would call mentalism and, perhaps sleight of hand, but also a little bit of like real magic, but like low magic, not theurgy. But saying in the name of God, it's kind of like, is it theurgy? Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends on why you're doing it. Like, he was doing it to save his student the disappointment of being rejected by the guy with the medicine, right? But he also might have been teaching him about it. But I think this would line up with the idea of siddhis in yoga and forms of Buddhism. In other words, these are gifts and abilities which come with being on the spiritual path, but the gifts are not what it's about. And people who enter upon the spiritual path because they want the gifts, well, it's not the best way, and it's probably not gonna lead them to the ultimate goal of the spiritual path. And you know what I'm saying? And in fact, it's one of those things, like the less you want it, the more you'll get it. Like when someone reads all the books about how to be charismatic, and then, okay, I'm gonna go to the bar and put my hand up like this. Okay, we're talking, so I'm gonna guide us over to a different part of the bar, and now the door is over there. So like, that's the least charismatic person in the bar, clearly, even though he might, to appearances, seem to be the most. But the person who doesn't care about charisma, who just is like, yeah, whatever, who's probably like happily married and not looking for anybody, will walk into the bar and like people will be like, who's that guy? You know what I mean? So it's similar with siddhis and spiritual paths. I'd say I draw a similar comparison. Did all that make sense? All right, I'm going to read one more of these paragraph thingamajiggies. Things. But the station, which we mentioned, is not like this. Okay, so the station of imagination, the station of imaginalization, right. So he's giving examples, yeah, the world of imagination. Okay, all these things are related to the world of imagination, but the station that he talked about probably in part 44 it's not about this like sleight of hand trickery kind of thing, of like making people see something that isn't real, or fooling people into thinking you're someone you're not, or any of this stuff, sleight of hand stuff, or what's it when you
like you'd be holding something in that hand, and this hand you'd forget about. This hand you'd be concentrating on. That hand you'd go, what did I have there? I don't even remember.
Yeah, like when you have $300. I don't know why. Editor Edward, what's the word for that?
Misdirection.
Okay, thank you. Sometimes a word escapes my brain, so Editor Edward helps with that. But the station which we mentioned is not like this. For if you eat, you become full. And if you receive something in this station like gold or clothing or whatever, it stays with you in its state without changing. Do you ever have one of those dreams where you, like, as you're starting to wake up, you're like, oh, but I want to keep this. And you hold on to it really tight. Yeah, maybe I'll still have it when I wake up. And it doesn't work because this is not Nightmare on Elm Street. You don't have his hat when you wake up. Okay, sorry. We have found this station within ourselves. We experienced it through tasting with the spiritual reality of Jesus at the beginning of our wayfaring. It explains the prophet's answer when he forbade fasting through the night during Ramadan. And it was said to him, quote, "But you fast through the night," end quote. Quote, "I do not have a condition like yours, for I am put up for the night well. There is with me a feeder who feeds me and a cupbearer who gives me to drink." End quote. Or, according to another version, quote, "My Lord feeds me and gives me to drink." End quote. Jesus said something like that, right? Copycat. What? Yes. No, yeah, like, "I have meat ye know not of," I think is how it gets translated. Like, my meat is to do my Father's will. And then, so here, Muhammad, blessed be he's version of that is, "I do not have a condition like yours, for I am put up for the night, while there is with me a feeder who feeds me and a cupbearer who gives me to drink." Maybe in Arabic it sounds more smooth. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Okay. In the group of people whom he was addressing at the time, no one possessed this station. But he did not say, quote, "I do not have a condition like," bracket parentheses, "all," end bracket parentheses, "people," end quote. So when he ate, he became full and continued in his customary strength. Since the eating took place in the presence of imagination and not that of sense perception, he could fast through the night. Well, all right, that was something. I had a nap earlier, and then I dreamed that in the nap, I had started a new segment, a new series within Chicken Philosophy, a new petal on the leaf, or a new petal on the flower, in which we were reading, like, the Odyssey, Le Morte d'Arthur, which I do have somewhere down here, and, like, some other old British, like, tale or myth or somewhere in between about a king. And I'm pretty sure it didn't really exist. And then when I woke up, I was like, oh, I should do that. And then after some time passed, I was like, no, I'm just not feeling it, like, the thing with Carl Jung and Ibn Arabi and Martin Luther and Teilhard de Chardin and Nag Hammadi, it is, I want to be interested in them, but I'm not. So now in this form, it's become a thing. This is my way of approaching these books that for decades I've wanted to read, but not wanted to read enough to actually read them. Like, when I want to read something, I want to read Dune, right? Here's Dune, right under the 150-year-old Shakespeare's or more. Or the Foundation series, I'm into the Yoga Sutras too, but as far as, like, deep diving into, like, what kind of nightmares Carl Jung was giving himself on the way to coming up with his philosophy that put a big imprint upon the Western understanding of, he helped open up the portal toward an understanding of a lot of things. But like with everybody, I think, some more, some less than others, they have their own their own genetic signature, kind of we've woven into the pattern of the understanding itself. Which again, like, I'm not thinking that the world should be devoid of that. I just think I want to be able to recognize that and to differentiate the information and the wisdom brought down or brought over from one geographic, historical, or time period to another, i.e. from 6th or 17th century China to 20th century Switzerland and Germany and England and America and all that. If that makes sense. So he's opening a channel through which someone can perceive that, but he's also putting a lot of Carl Jung in it. You know what I mean? I mean, in the example of Secret of the Golden Flower, which is fine. And I mean, that's an interesting conclusion that I came around to. I think Joe Zabinski helped me come around to is, like, it's fine that Carl Jung has such a presence in the collective consciousness. I said consciousness. And unconscious at this point. At this point, he's in the thing that he coined. There's a Nebuchadnezzar. There's a, I don't know why I said Nebuchadnezzar. There's a Gilgamesh. There's an Odin, and there's a Carl Jung in all of us that we can get to know. And so, that all being said, I'm not feeling the King Arthur. I don't even want to. I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe it's on that same level as Martin Luther, where it's so familiar. It's too familiar already, and I have zero interest in it. That's how we started with the Martin Luther series on here. But maybe there are assumptions about ways to approach life that I don't know that I have, and I don't know come from Le Morte d'Arthur. I don't know. I don't think so. I really enjoy Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and I feel like I got this is based on this when I saw Excalibur. But obviously Excalibur, they're going to take some liberties and they're going to simplify, because a book this thick, it's difficult to put in an hour-and-a-half movie, or however long that movie was. I think that movie was a little long for movies back then, but still, I don't know if I don't think I want to read King Arthur. I'm a little more inclined to want to read the Odyssey, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe we'll see. It's like in queue behind a lot of other things. Hagakure is in line to take over after Dao De Ching and I Ching. Then the leaf will, that red leaf, the white leaf will turn red. I kind of want to dive into these books from the Bihar School of Yoga, including their translation, which I haven't read. I've read a couple of translations of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, but not theirs or their commentary. I think that'd be a fun thing to dive into as 1/5 of our shenanigans on here. I don't know why, but I'm thinking because of Orange. I figure when we finish the Martin Luther, which we're like halfway done with, then we can start diving into these 5 books. There's one thin book here, that the ones with the gold stripe. And do I have any others in mind? I don't know if I do. Oh yeah, well, obviously after the black books, then we'll read The Serpent Power by Arthur Avalon, and then The Psychology of Kundalini Yoga. And then we'll decide at that time, if it's been long enough since we've finished the black books, that we can look at the red book, which is basically, remember the black books? Oh, well, here it all is for you. You know, like, I'm imagining like that stupid movie Across the Universe that came out like 20 years ago, where they're like, yeah, it's the Beatles, but like through the mind of a filmmaker in 2006, and all the songs are not the Beatles. So it's like all your favorite music, but not versions that you would want to hear, you know. that's not what I imagine the Red Book to be like. But it's like now we're getting the raw stuff. So people tripped out on the Red Book for a long time, for like 15 years, and then the Black Books came out, and crickets. I heard nobody talk about the Black Books, but I saw that they were there, so I got them, and then they sat on my shelf for a few years, and then we started Chicken Philosophy. So that's the plan. I might have forgotten some of my plans, but that's okay. I think the Kali is a little bit crooked. Well, it's neither here nor there. All right, we're making some progress on. I just need to have. It's complicated with these cement buildings. It's not so simple as nailing putting a nail in the wall like it is in the U.S. You know, everybody says the same thing. Everybody in India says the same thing after that tragic news. Everybody around the world heard about what happened to Los Angeles. Here in India, people say, "Are all your houses made out of wood?" And then I say, "Most of them." And they say, "Why?" And I say, "I don't know." And they're like, and it's a fire-prone area. Fires happen there every year. Yeah. And they still make the houses out of wood. Yeah. Why? Why do they do that? The reason they're asking that is because here, none of the houses are made out of wood. They're all made out of concrete and stone and mud. Not like a mud hut or something, but like, the old style. Mostly concrete. And I told him I don't know, but I think it must have something to do with history, because America started out as the 13 colonies, which largely were the British Empire, cutting down trees for themselves to build more boats to go back and forth across the Atlantic, to take more wood from more trees and build more boats for more trees, right? So they can maintain their dominance over the sea or whatever, and take over the world for a few centuries. I don't know. Somehow I think that might have translated into everybody building their houses out of wood, maybe because wood was easy to come by, because everybody was a lumberjack or something. Everybody was involved in the wood trade, like starting out in the 1600s, 1700s. And so then they just got in the habit of making houses out of wood and just kept doing it. I don't know. I guess. It's my guess. But, stay safe out there, wherever you are in the world, from the elements, and nature, and all that. Take care of yourself. Drink plenty of water. Don't drink too much coffee. Do as I say, not as I do. And there might be a little break, because we're going to wait until we have BT's outfit to do BT doing Carl Jung, because we are going to do BT doing Carl Jung, and we're going to do it properly, and we're going to do it with the Celtic Tarot manual instead of all that good stuff. So you can look forward to one of those special BT Carl Jung episodes coming up next. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have just decided I'm going to create a playlist with the BT does Carl Jung, with the cards up on the screen. I don't know what it's going to be called, but you can catch up on the BT cards on the screen, Carl Jung stuff, by clicking right there. And I will also put the playlist in the end screen right after the chicken cluck. And the chicken cluck comes right after I say, until next time.
Behold, I am alive forevermore, and hold the keys of hell and death. For I know that my Redeemer liveth, and standeth at the latter day upon the earth. I am the way,